Oh no. Oh no. It's
I
already
don't.
started for you.
Oh, there we go. There's a machine outside, uh,
You can't hear it.
some sort of tractor and everything. That's good. That's good news. You know, the airplanes, everything. That's what disturbs these sort of things.
I don't know what it said.
But
I just
anyway,
exited out of it.
so this is going to be a new series. I feel I'm always starting some form of new series, but this one's going to be business talks with Trent Knox. And you know what's so interesting about this is
Business
we've
talks
we've
with
talked
Knox?
business talks with Trent Knox. Yeah.
No,
And
I
we've
think it
talked
should just
about
be
this.
business talks with Knox, and I think you should drop your first name.
But it's not on
Branding. You're
brand.
welcome. Yeah, it is.
Yeah. Maybe we'll get there. I don't, not enough people know me yet, but
Yeah,
we'll
that's
figure
true.
it out.
That's true. That's true. You can't just drop the
Um,
first name.
so yeah, so it's gonna be, interviewing folks who've established themselves as content creators or an entrepreneur or in the uh in the world of trying to have a job. Hey, look, we got some comments coming in from Thirsty Minds on LinkedIn
What's up,
and whatnot.
Thirsty
So we're gonna
Minds?
be doing
Oh,
this.
nice. You're
We're
on
gonna be doing
LinkedIn.
this
That
live.
too. Cool.
Yep. And yeah,
Can
so
I
one of the
share it
things
from
is,
LinkedIn? Can I go on LinkedIn and share it there?
yeah, you can go on LinkedIn and share it. Yeah.
Get the fuck out.
Yeah,
So
and
LinkedIn is just a social media platform at this point. I'm behind. I mean, I'm not behind because I've been in it as of late doing things, and that's what I'm learning. I'm
right.
following feeds, I'm doing shit, and yeah, I'm learning
Well,
there.
I'm sort of a special case because I've taken advantage of the features, and I'm a content creator on LinkedIn. So I have content creator functionality on the platform, and so one of the things I did recently was I saw you posted on LinkedIn, and I reshared it to my network and kind of gave some additional hashtags and boosts to it and whatnot of what you said that you're back in the job market, and so you know um that's sort of why I think I see you as one of the best guests for this first version of it or whatnot, because you've been there while I started my entrepreneurial journey, and I know the value that you bring to anybody's team. So I kind of wanted to just talk about where you're at and like what your goals are and everything like that, and how that might be relatable to other people uh, on this journey of wanted to be um, financially independent and um, wanting to be. You know what? Maybe you could define that a little bit better for yourself. My definition of success is going to be different than yours.
True, true. And I think that's a great point that the definition, anybody's definition of success is going to be objective. I think the definition of success in any way, shape, or form you look at it, it's going to be considered an objective thing for a lot of people. But I think there's a lot of common check marks of success, if you will. And before we came on, you talked about this. We're gonna discuss the rat race, which is exactly what we're in. We're in this weird
Mhm.
system of just like checkpoints and like collecting badges. We are in a real life game, man. That's what it is. And I love that analogy. You actually gave me a book, several copies of a book called The Game of Life or Leveling Up, and then like the subtext Mastering the Game of
Hard
Life
soup.
to some
Yeah.
yeah. And I've given that copy of books to several people that need it. In fact, I just handed it to a buddy of mine who's a consultant for KPMG, Khalil.
Mhm.
You've met Khalil. I handed it to him the other day because me and him were having like a deep discussion like this, and he's in this whole new spectrum of the business world. For him, he's doing consulting, kind of along the same lines that I guess you and me would be doing, but he's doing
Mhm.
it for cloud-based networks, and he's at a very like official level, and he kind of spoke about getting into this room where he was able to like negotiate his pay, being able to flex his worth, if you will, being able to lean into his skill set and take advantage of this leverage he may have, right? And I think we're now experiencing that in our careers for our own different reasons and ways. And it's a weird one to be in, man. It's a weird one to be in. You talk about going in on yourself or going all in on yourself or making, relying on only yourself for money or coming, just approaching business differently and the entrepreneurial mindset that comes along with that. And I don't necessarily think you even have to be a full-time, hard-on entrepreneur, if you will. I think you very well can be like a you or a me, where you do have the entrepreneurial spirit, but
Mhm.
you lean into maybe wanting to, align yourself with a business or a corporation or some sort of career field or profession that you maybe feel that you can contribute to in a way. And yeah, I think that all falls back to the levels of success. And I don't really, with all that being said, I don't even know if I can clearly define what I'm looking for or what I'm doing right now. I can say that over the last year, I've leaned into the consulting aspect of things that
Yeah.
I didn't even think consulting was going to be something that I found interesting. And turns out you just got to have experience in things to really consult. And I've looking in, there's obviously different certifications along with like project management certifications and just different levels of officialness you can add to your expertise if you want to be a consultant. But really just starts with understanding different fields, through and through, the foundations of the fields, like understanding them in like theory, if you will, and just having a grasp, and then being able to lean into examples that you have of like success, or examples of that you have where you've been able to provide results. And then you get to lean into hopefully some sort of like teaching skill you have, and you get to like share that with people and teach people or guide people. And um I think I have a lot of qualities that kind of emphasize a consultant, if you will. And I was like, hey, I'm going to try to lean into it. And I didn't necessarily think that it was going to be something that I like leaned into real hard, but I did. And for the most part, it has been fun. It's definitely opened up some new career paths. You and me have been talking about that a lot lately. And I'm sure that you can even expand on this, but I was a lifelong salesperson. I was lifelong in an industry, or not lifelong, but a decade plus in an industry that was very specific, tailored to a very specific, product or what have you. And to shed yourself of that, and I think you probably experienced that with, content creation or being behind the screen, if you will. And then you went obviously full head on into starting a business, and led with that for several years. And you've since transitioned into doing some different stuff. And, so for anybody taking that risk or taking that transition, that change, going from one career to another or one profession to another is difficult. But, I think that going back to it being a game of life and leveling up, that's all we do as humans, right? That's all that this is it's just a different series of mastering skills and, you know, finding new hobbies, new passions, new loves, new interests. And you're constantly just trying to build and get better or do things, hopefully, right? And achieve more money, hit these different levels of success that you've placed for yourself. So
Hell yeah.
that's what I've been doing. It's been a fucking fun year, I guess. I've been talking about it a lot through just my content. To keep this short, just taking risks. That was a big thing for me throughout my year. And with me and my network of friends, a lot of my friends were taking different risks, and I just leaned into it too as well. And I can't say that it went like didn't go good, didn't go bad. I'm currently unemployed. But just with a lot of decent options, and not necessarily in a situation where I'm you know, struggling. And that also comes from just being able to use what I have in the past and learn. So, but yeah, it's been the risk taking has been fun, and it's been worth it this year for sure, to say the least. And now I'm here with you
Hell
on your
yeah.
show.
Hell yeah. And I want to, jump in and bring up some of these comments. So thanks for the share, Joe. And Thirsty Minds on LinkedIn. Nice comes on and says, oh my God, it's fucking Bryan.
So what's up,
And he's
Knives?
on here saying, what's up? And then, yep, Bruno, I'm back on Facebook to hit the airwaves over there as well. But for a little bit of context, for those new listeners and everything like that, Bryan and I actually vibed and met on basically our shared interest in music at the time. I feel like we were both interested in more like the business of music at that time, and like the whole artist scene and everything going on in the Austin area. And I think that I really didn't have a full perception of what it meant to be in the business of entertainment or in any capacity creating a podcast or anything like that. And I was kind of doing something like that previously, but Bryan really brought the packing for a podcast to my the front of my like attention. And he did come in a like a consulting aspect when we first met, when it comes to content creators and creator economy and all of these things. And then you kind of revolutionized or kind of reimagined what I was doing at the time with Austin Live and Local, and we did like 3 seasons of Austin Live and Local together before I went off to do different ventures, and you started the Comic Chaos, and you went on to do I Hate the Scene and creating content and all of these things that we do on the side. And I mean, I know you said unemployed, but I would say like right now you're self-employed. Like right now, the unemployed has like a negative context that I don't think a lot of people should be putting that label on themselves. And right now what it
That's
is like you're driven right now to go and find that next better opportunity. And and some people aren't driven. I wasn't driven for a long time, that I wasn't out there pursuing or looking for leads or looking for opportunities because for whatever reason, the rejection level was just like one of the things that I definitely struggled with. Like, the traditional workforce is like you've got to work for someone for 10 years, and then if you haven't worked for a particular company for 10 years, you're seen as unreliable, or that you don't have loyalty, or that you don't have you're not in some form or fashion professional because of that. And so like I struggle with that, because in the industry that I want to be in, which is the film, movie, cinema, whatever you want to call it, the entertainment industry. Like back in the day, back in like the 60s, you might have found that you were like hired to a studio and you worked for the same studio for 10 years, but now what it is like you're bouncing around from studio to studio. You're shooting for Netflix, you're shooting for Amazon. You're never really working for anyone in any particular, facet. So like what do you see now that you're like in this new trajectory in your career? What is it that is like the foundation for you? What is that structure that you're looking for in the next thing that you do?
Man, you said a lot there, and a lot of good points. Sorry, I'm taking notes. Those two tie in. So shout out to Matt Musselwhite. I Hate the Scene. I Hate the Scene was actually a podcast I started a long time ago with Matt. He started it, but I've had the privilege of working with him through and through, basically back in like 2008, early days on MySpace. And as far as the entertainment industry, and I bring him into this because he actually texted me yesterday. Matt, myself, we've all been somewhat involved in the entertainment industry. Me and Matt on the music side, we were in bands, a decade ago. He went on to do I Hate the Scene, which was a music podcast. So from that, we went on to like interviewing bands, doing podcasts, continuing that on. When I moved out here to Austin, Texas, Matt is in the San Antonio area. We started Scene Radio, which is what it was back in the day. Transition to I Hate the Scene. He tours. He's been able to interview bands on the road. We've been able to get guests on, and it just kind of took off from this, again, long-standing indoctrination into the music scene. And with you in the movie industry, those are both industries that are very, gatekeeping is huge. They are very protected, if you will, with who basically can get in and who can get to that next level of success or notoriety or importance, what have you, throughout studios. And nowadays it's beyond just like the Hollywood sphere, right? Because you have Netflix and Amazon and studios all throughout just the world. But still, it's an industry of who you know. And I think that can be
a little foreshadowing here to a conversation we're going to have here about content creators and social media. But yeah,
all of that can be, I mean, the asterisk here is that gatekeeping is in any industry.
Yeah.
It's gross to us. You and me find it gross because it is a part of the entertainment industry, which already has the negative connotation, if you will, because it's the
Yeah.
entertainment industry, right? It's weird, it's intrusive, it's predatory, if kind of in a way. Um,
Salacious.
yes, be it, but it's also the entertainment industry. Music and
The
movies are
tabloids, all that
media,
stuff.
the biggest selling forms of media there are, right? And like there's yeah, exactly. Everybody's enthralled with celebrity. And what is so
People
fucking gross
magazine.
about all of this is
Mhm.
what are we doing? We're talking to people, hoping to get streams and views and to be noticed and to get attention. But keep in mind that it's not just the entertainment industry where these gross behavioral things exist. It's in any industry, and we're learning that in the professional capacity of things, right? Be it starting your own business, be it whether it be related to entertainment or not. I was removed for entertainment for some years, being in the sales
Mhm.
industry, but also had my foot in. I was, you know, both. I was
Yeah,
in multiple
absolutely.
rooms, right? And what fortunate for me, I and maybe unfortunate, and Matt can also speak to this, and so can you, is it's gross having to see both sides. Knives as well over here in the chat room. We can see both sides to that like curtain,
Mhm,
front
mhm.
of stage, backstage, right? And we now see how that bleeds over into the real world, if you will. And that just correlates with sales jobs, tech jobs. You have a wealth of experience in like production and the tech side of things, and yet you would probably still have to go entry level at 30 years old. You know, I'm 35,
Yeah.
and I found this to be something that I had to go in and change real quick. But um, you know, I graduated at the end of last year, 2021, took the non-traditional route for school, and I'm getting entry level jobs for sales positions. And I've had to tell recruiters, like, are you even looking at my resume? And they're like, oh no, we just saw that you graduated. And I'm just like, okay, well, I'm 35 and I've been doing sales for like a long time. I'm not really necessarily looking to go that route. Have to go through this like explanation process. And it just is, man. It's weird. It's weird how systems are
Yeah.
structured in a way to kind of go through this. It is all a popularity game,
Mhm.
whether you're in school, in elementary school, it's a popularity game. Who likes me, who doesn't, and who's smart and who's not. And in the real world, that's exactly what it is. It's just now,
Yeah.
um, not political, but I don't know. It's
Well,
just a weird thing.
in
It's
in
culturally
the,
a weird thing that we go through.
in the gaming industry, whenever you get like, you know, like let's say there's a first place and a second place and a third place, and the first and second place are gonna be people who are like who are on the same team, right? They're part of that same community, right? And
Hmm.
they're like, we know we're gonna win. There's two of us, there's one of you. And this is
Hmm.
more like in like the Fortnite world. That's called like griefing because they're not gonna give you the opportunity to get there and take the first place, the third guy who's all on his own, he's a solo player, right? And they're not even, that's like not supposed to even happen because usually what happens is in that case is like that those two people who are in first and second place, they competed in a tournament that they shouldn't be competing in, and so then they grief you. Well, recently, like I was in a conversation with someone who's looking to get onto, you know, just to kind of get the word out there that they are launching a new brand, and that they're starting to create content around that brand. And I was like, yeah, man, I'm not doing my podcast right now, but I do want to like help you get onto some shows. And so I said, yeah, let me connect you with a couple of guys. And so behind the scenes, I didn't mention who they were to the person that's trying to get their brand out there. But when I gave them their information to people, they like looked at it, and they were like, yeah, no, that's not a good fit for us. And it's like, dude, the people I gave it to are like at the same level, like not in any way like
Mm.
more successful or anything like that. They're just like, it's like some people are like they're like little guys, but they feel like that they need a bigger person to come on their show to you know, so that they can siphon the audience of the larger content creator. And then on the other hand,
I
when I
mean, that's
introduced
natural anywhere too, you know?
yeah, but then on the other hand, when I introduced the concept to a larger content creator, they just like basically griefed in the sense of like they left us on red. Like it was like, left on green, like Drake
Mhm.
says. It's like you don't respond to the messaging or like acknowledge that this individual who's starting this new brand has a history and tenure of being successful in the industry that they're from. And it's like there's that. It's like it's not necessarily gatekeeping, it's egoing. There's so much egoing going on, and it's you
Mm.
foreshadowed a little bit to like the more mainstream topic, which I think we can talk about, which I know behind the scenes before we recorded, we were talking about how like there's this fight happening tonight between Anderson Silva and Jake Paul.
Yeah, yeah, man,
and
that's
and
wild.
and that's the biggest example of what we're talking about, and at least for today, as far as like this salaciousness, this like gatekeeping in a way, because
It's just this weird.
essentially,
It's this is a weird platform to kind of do this on, right? Because what are we talking? Are we talking about business or are we talking about like
right?
this? Man, I've been trying to dabble with this idea that the Matrix. We saw a movie. A movie was made that called The Matrix, and it explained
Yeah.
how we may be living in this orchestrated, simulated reality that isn't real, but it's a part of us. It is a part of being real because us as humans are plugged into the system and they're using us in some weird way to fuel this reality that we all live in and yada yada. And I've been trying to fucking break that down in my mind ever since I took mushrooms like a couple years ago. And
Uh-huh.
what the only thing that I can really come up with is that we are in the Matrix. Like the Matrix is reality. There is no being
Right.
unplugged. Unplugged is like death. And unfortunately, we just don't know what goes on after that. And so there's
Right.
no like one day we're going to unplug and everything's going to change and everything's going to be okay. And I feel like people haven't necessarily grasped that. But what's
Mhm.
grasping that in 2022 when, in 1982, a 35-year-old grasping his reality, what would that have looked like, right? And,
Yeah.
you know, that's just this weird whirlwind of, hey, what are we even like meant to do? Are we meant to find success and happiness and all these other different titles or feelings or labels that we've learned through media and other form consuming, right? What are we really going for in life? And I'm sure those purposes are found in different stages, you know.
Yeah.
For someone that is just trying to find their way, right? Which would
Mhm.
be, I guess, people that we represent, right? I mean, I'm we all have families. We have families. We don't have kids, and I think that's a different level of like purpose and doing things. But I also know several people that have kids and don't care about them. So I guess that's not
Yeah.
necessarily the end all be all. Again, it's this purpose, this reason for living, this objective thing that we're all searching for. I think a lot of us are getting the wrong ideas of what that is and what that should look like through the mainstream things that we see and through these maybe gross narratives that we're picking up on through what we're watching, but we can only learn from example. And I don't necessarily know that there's any other way than what we're seeing. We talk about gatekeeping, we talk about gross behavior and how the uh, realities you and me may know are disgusting and ew, but the realities of a lot of people are disgusting and ew, and that's for what? What are they? Where does that all stemming from? Well, it's stemming from just I think this slow turn that culture and society is making um, towards fuck, man. I don't know, just like this I see this weird turn where people, when we were talking about this, like, why are jobs all of a sudden seeming like, why do they all of a sudden seem fake? Why are people calling us and interviewing us and accepting
Right.
things for fake jobs? Like, it doesn't make
Right.
sense.
Right.
I've had conversations with people and I'm like, hey, what are you trying to offer me right now? And it's weird, like publishing opportunities or this, hey, buy into this, vitamin or whatever weird pyramid
Yeah.
scheme you're familiar with. Even though they're not pyramid schemes, they're people that are like running these businesses and they're willing to
Yeah.
pay you, but they're not willing to pay you unless you buy into something or you buy into this weird belief or this weird system that you then have to, um, you know, work your way through and you have to now orchestrate your own business and pass it along. And it's like, hey, it's all for the sake of hustle. A quote that has always stuck with me that my friend Brian Olivas said. He was on an episode of my podcast a while back. And me and him used to work together at a company, and he said this. He said, "Everybody expects you to have a side hustle." And he goes, "I
Mhm.
don't get it. Why can't people just be appreciated for the work that they want to do? And why can't
Mm.
people just go after the work that they want to do and hustle for the work that they truly want to do? Why do you have to have some side job?" And it stuck with me. And where did that side hustle mentality come from? It came from us being on Instagram and being on, it's this entrepreneurial mindset maybe of like, oh, I'm going to start a side business and it's great. And like, but then
Yeah.
starting a side business became a side business. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, oh, like, what kind of weird inception world are we living in when like there are fake accounts for the sake of like promoting things on, what I'm like, what are we're
Yeah.
seeing this weird social media has these weird inceptional things that are like, within Matrix. Yeah, subcontracting even like you're saying that in the private chat, say it out loud, man. Like, yeah,
Well, no, I didn't want to interrupt your thread there. So
subcontracting is really
yeah,
weird. Like temp agencies. I worked for a temp agency when I was like 18, 19, right?
yeah,
And it made sense because I think those who are unplugged from the matrix are those who cut their social security cards and live off the grid. Hey, that's true too, man. If you can be, Knives mentioned that in the YouTube comments, if you've truly
yeah. I'll bring that
successfully
up.
removed yourself from the grid, then maybe you're living the full dream. But I mean, yeah, until you get invaded and that shit goes away. That is the real dream. That is the real dream until somebody invades your land and then decides to take it over and you got to try to fight for it. And like, that's the kind of just weird shit that I'm conceptualizing is there's all these, I imagined having a dope house with like a security bunker, right? Because maybe we're going to World War III right now and the nuke might go off. But then I'm like, oh yeah, in 3 months when I try to go out because I run out of
Oh,
food.
hold on before you get there. I do want to like I want to decompress a little bit here
Oh, fuck.
because yeah, I do want to bring this back up because Bruno did bring up sort of the same messaging. Is
Real
that
quick, let me asterisk this too. The only reason I go down that matrix rabbit hole and I try to illustrate that for the sake of business talk is
Mhm.
because there's, for the sake of people becoming valuable and being able to live on their own, all these things, cutting up social security cards, living off the grid, not wanting to conform, not wanting to have, but also not
Yeah,
being able to afford the cost of living right now because it's expensive. People need a side hustle now. People just need to
yeah,
earn money nowadays.
yeah,
And not only is it becoming harder to get a real job, it's becoming harder to become self-sufficient so you can start earning your own money and getting your own profession in place, or you're, developing your own skills. uh Trent says gig economy in the private chat over here. And like, that's true too. Gig economy. Everybody needs to do something on the side just to be able to survive. But the very act of being inspired enough to do something on the side or a side hustle becomes gross and predatory, just like any other career field we were just talking about. So if selling ourselves for the sake of just trying to make some money, some fucking money to survive becomes a
ooh,
gross
yeah.
thing, then what do we have left, man?
But
You
I,
know?
I want I want to actually this is a talking point you've had behind the scenes that I haven't heard you bring up yet. Is that your desire right now? I you'll have to speak to this, but from what I understand your desire is right now is you've worked for uh big business before,
Mhm,
and
mhm.
that you went and worked recently for a custom home builder. It was a very small knit, tight, small business kind of vibe, and that you don't necessarily want to go back to big business. And the reason why I bring that up is because I've recently gone back to big business in two
Yeah.
different companies, and what I've noticed is that it's so what's the word? I forget what it's not bureaucracy, but like there's so many cooks, chefs in the kitchen, and
Yeah.
not enough cooks.
Mhm.
Like so, like for instance, for Walmart, for
It's a
example,
great
like they have
analogy, and real quick, not a lot of people know the difference between chefs and cooks. I just wanna highlight that,
right,
and I can even explain that real quick. A cook makes the food. A chef creates it or instructs it and
right, yeah,
delivers on how it should be made, but some people don't know the difference between that, and so that's true. There's a lot of chefs in the kitchen, there's a lot of people barking orders and telling people how it needs to be done, but there's not a lot of cooks. There's not a lot of people actually working in the kitchen, you know,
right, yeah,
tossing the shit in the pan, just for people's
ex-
clarity.
exactly, yeah, and And so like for instance, like the Walmart employment experience is going much more in the direction of the gig economy, like Lyft and Uber, a DoorDash, etc., where people just kind of get on their smartphone, clock in, do a little bit of work, get off the clock, get on the clock, get off the clock, get on the clock. Whereas like a system of manufacturing like a Tesla, which I've been working in recently, they're much more antiquated. They're an old school kind of, you got to clock in at the clock box, you got to use a digital key card. Half the system works, half the system doesn't work. These and like, so you're just like constantly kind of glitching in the matrix, like it's not perfected. So Bruno says the system is rigged and is about hard work, nor your talent is about who your friends and family status and the and I get what the meaning behind that, because it's like some people start on second base, like that's their reality. And I personally feel that I'm, maybe because I grew up in America, I'm on first base, because I taught this
Fact.
conversation recently. It's
Fact.
like in the rest of the world, people live on $2 a day or something like that. Like so that's the most of
Oh
the money that
man,
they
I'm
have.
about to
You
break your
know,
heart though. I'm about to break your heart though.
all right,
Keep
let's hear
talking.
it. Let's Matt.
I
But
mean,
yeah,
I'm in no way, shape, or form diminishing other people's situations around the world, right? But
yeah,
and this is a lot to be said for like what the world has become in a weird way. But you know, you're starting on first base. Let's call it first base for here in America. Because there are people, and we'll say in the grand scheme of things, being born in America is starting on first base, but it's relative. And
yeah,
what I mean by that is for somebody that doesn't know what America is or even what exists in America, they could have been born on, they could have been born on fucking first base in their country because they think they're in a great position when in relative to where
true,
we're at, it's like, completely different worlds, maybe, right? And so
yeah.
I think that's everything should be relative to this
It
situation.
is
So, like,
contextual. Yeah.
yeah, you are first base. I think even here being in the States in the first base situation, right? Because
Mhm.
there's definitely people that are like foster care, and grow up
Yeah.
done with nothing. And so just for that asterisk, I think it's relative.
I think fun, yeah, and then there's a foundation that that a lot of things where the context doesn't go further is like there's 9 innings in baseball. Like, we got to
That
get
is
on base
true.
a lot in life.
Yeah.
There's a cat 9 lives. Like you might miss a few innings, but you know that could be the case. And you mentioned earlier is like when the power goes out, or like it's you're on your deathbed. You know what they say that is? Like there's a turn of phrase called coming to terms in life. Like the contract that you
Mm.
have with the devil and God, you come to terms with that contract. It's over. It's done. Your 6 months at that company is over, right?
Fair.
You
Yeah,
came
yeah,
to
yeah.
terms, with
Mm.
life. And so there are the common chaos, right? Let's plug the show, right? That's what you're talking
All right.
about a lot of the time. So go ahead and like talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, so thanks. The plug for the show is my show, Common Cast Podcast. You can find it on Spotify, Stitcher, wherever you get your podcast, iTunes. You can also check it out at commonchaos.net. And what I have under my name banner right there is the socials for it. And yeah, it's called the Common Chaos for that reason. I try to bring people a balanced perspective on life, show people the good, the bad, and the ugly, and just try to kind of do what I'm doing now in the conversation with Trent and break it down into a very common perspective. It's we all go through this game. We all experience different chaoses, different order, different ideas of order, but you can't ever have too much of either. You need a balance. Uh you need some sort of just what's the word I'm looking for? Like this guiding light. This you need to be able to understand what you're capable of and what you want out of life and what you need out of life, your purpose, all these different things. And really the only way you can figure these things out and develop these ideas for yourself is to experience life. And you got to go through the hard times, you got to go through the good times, you got to go through it all to kind of just develop this idea for yourself. And that's, I think, one thing the podcast itself does is it brings a lot of people together through their ideas of just living life and experiencing life. Trent has been on there several times and has been able to just really share his experiences, especially in the entrepreneurial world, man, because I've seen Trent come in. I've seen Trent set up and I just spoke about this for a reference because someone actually reached out to me and said, hey, I've noticed you've worked with Trent several times in the past. Give me an idea of what it is to work with him. And I've seen Trent just build so much shit. I've seen him build ideas. I've seen him build brands, messaging. I've seen him just do so much. And regardless of it being a call for we've done meetups and nobody showed up, right? But then we
Yeah,
also threw an event where, it was close to 1,000 people were
40,
there.
50.
And
Yeah,
yeah,
it was a lot
yeah,
of
yeah.
people.
Or meetups in general, just 40, 50 people show up just to say what's up and get creative, and that's when meetups are like, what? Like, what are people getting together and discussing ideas nowadays or is just, not something that they do. And regardless of nobody showing up or 50 people showing up just to discuss ideas, Trent comes in with the same energy. And that's important for people to hear. It's important for people to understand that. And it's not necessarily about, getting the likes and the hearts on the Instagram feeds or getting the engagement. It's about going out there and trying an idea you have. And if it succeeds or fails, just chalking it up as an experience and going back to the drawing board. And, I've been able to
I do
lean on
want
you
to
for that.
interrupt a little bit here.
Go,
I do want
go.
to interrupt a
Cut
little
me
bit,
off,
even
please,
though
whenever.
you're blowing smoke up my ass a little bit. But I want to talk.
I
I want
wanted
to
to
talk.
build the bridge as to why you've been on it. So
I want to
set
talk
an
to Twitch a
example.
little bit here because I do want I want Twitch to know that don't get it twisted. I don't know necessarily what I'm doing. I am just in a perpetual state of practice,
Mm-hmm.
and
Good way to put it.
if I and the way that it is like for a long time Twitch would be so disagreeable with me as far as the overall arching terms of service of how the internet is supposed to be politically correct or whatever the case may be, and how their perspective applied to the reality of the world. And and this is why I think we both are kind of how do I say this, uh, imitating in a way the more successful podcasters out there, like the Lex Freemans, like the Joe Rogans, like the um I guess you could even say Logan Pauls of the world in a way, because it's we're in an industry or art form called podcasting, and we're going to hit on things like the Matrix, which in other words, if you put it in Lex Friedman terminology, in the engineering world, it's mathematics. The world is governed by mathematics. That God is mathematics. So the answer is always X in, Y out. That's just what it is. And that balance that you're talking about between chaos and order comes down to like um even it comes down to what someone recently mentioned to me, the circadian rhythm. Like, or is it, that's not right, not
No, the
circadian rhythm,
Fibonacci sequence.
not the circadian rhythm. That's like the rhythm of the bugs outside.
No.
But,
Your circadian rhythm is your sleep cycle.
right, sleep cycles. Okay,
Yeah,
yeah.
you're like sleep
And
wake cycle. Yeah.
so I guess maybe more on point would be the Fibonacci thing that you were
Yeah.
talking about.
I
So yeah,
mean,
break that
so
down.
I can't by any means break down the Fibonacci's.
Ah! This comment just like
Oh
we'll get
man.
into that. We'll get
Yeah.
into that.
Yeah, talk about fucking breaking the matrix.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know anything about the Fibonacci sequence other than they just pumped it at an AI machine and the AI machine started talking to it or started operating. So that was kind of weird. But back to the man, I get what you're saying in the sense that there's this need for everything
I'm gonna
seems
say
to have a breakdown. Everything seems to
yeah.
be able to be broken down to something, a mathematical equation, a particle, a substance, an atom. Like we are so good at like explaining things and breaking them down as humans, I guess. Maybe not me personally, but
Yeah.
we're really good at like breaking things down in a way that allows us to explain them. But something we can't explain, and I don't know if we ever will be able to explain, is like the reason to life, why we're fucking here, what we're doing. Why are we walking this planet? Why do we as humans do the things we do? Why are we deciding to sit down and have this like conversation? Conscious thought, the idea of a God, evolution, whatever it is, we're doing it and we don't know why, right? In lieu of finding an answer, because we're not going to have an answer, we've just got to find a balance. We can't be too much on the fucking extreme. We'll die too soon. Species will fall off and we'll fucking die, right?
Mm.
And we can't fucking have just padded rooms everywhere because we'll become
Mm-hmm.
soft. We won't succeed as a species, let alone as individuals. And only thing protecting me and my shit is laws that man made and my ability to like defend myself to a degree. But the minute someone's got a bigger gun than I do, I'm dead. You know what I'm saying? Like we can't have too much order. We can't have too much chaos. Because right now there's no answer. Order's not the answer. Chaos isn't the fucking answer, even though we were born from chaos or created from chaos, whatever
Mm-hmm.
weird analogy you want to use. Neither of those two things are the answer. And so, because we don't have an answer, what do we got? We have to find some sort of like happy medium between the two. We've got to be able to ride the wave, if you will, and not get knocked off the board. We got to be able to fucking stay on the float and we got to be able to ride it out. And during that process, however long it may take, enjoy it, I guess. I don't fucking know, dude. And what sucks is if you're, I don't know if anybody's ever the people listening have surfed or whatever your analogy you want to use again, but I've been knocked off the board. Getting knocked off fucking sucks. The ultimate knockoff is dying, and we don't want to ever experience that. But
Yeah.
that's all there is, right? We're living. If we're not
Yeah.
fucking we are actively dying to a degree, but we're not actively dying in the next 5 minutes. I'm going to be dead kind of thing. And so what are we doing? We're living. Well, how's that living looking for us? For some people, it's real bland. For some people, it's a struggle. For some people, it's nonstop fucking chaos. And the only order they do have is their ability to like fucking sit down and paint for an hour, or their ability to, who knows? It's just that's the fucking chaos in it all. And like to go back to your mathematical equation or breaking it down, like that's the one thing that we'll probably never have an answer to. And there's, people out here are trying to figure out the answer to a perfect resume and get a job. It's just fucking, where do we go? What do we do?
That's what I want to help with. That's exactly what I want to help with, because that's what my process has been. My living what living your truth, where that comes from. Like
I'm pretty sure Becca made that. I have a sticker that says it.
I thought it was a podcast or something but I remember.
Well, yeah, my podcast. I have a sticker that says "Live Your Truth" on
that, man. It's there was like a
actually,
campaign in 2012 about.
You're talking about Vote or Die?
There's Live Your Truth. Live Your Truth.
Comcast.net. That's what that's about.
Yeah. No, that's not the one I was thinking of, but that is true as well. It's effectively the same thing. So we'll just move on from there. That
people hate that shit too.
That but
what I mean.
But it is what your lived experience and effectively how you can help others who are, maybe haven't had those experiences injected into your life. If the matrix is as is depicted in the movies, where you're attached to some form of umbilical cord, and like it's like the heroin is being shot in, and like that little bit of experience adjusts the the way that you pursue success. And so for me, that's been LinkedIn. Like that's been where I got that Microsoft injection into me. I got the vaccine chip in my left arm, and now I've gotten
You
to
would.
I got the chip. I got the chip.
How dare you? How dare you?
I got the chip. The vaccine.
Oh no.
There are
How
gonna be
dare
people who
you?
are literally deathly afraid of getting a vaccine that will save their lives because they do conspiratorially believe that they've put nanobots into the vaccine that are gonna somehow sell your information to the
I
government.
love the
You know?
dichotomy that okay, I'm in no way, shape, or form trying to out you at by any means, Trent. But the dichotomy of the situation is that you live in fucking Georgetown, Texas, which
Yeah.
is microchip fucking headquarters, I'm sure, to some degree.
Oh
We
yeah.
live in, despite us being like in Austin, Texas, right?
Yeah.
Despite us being in this fucking beautiful place, like
Yeah.
we are also so close to some of the most outlandish beliefs in the like imaginable.
Oh
It's
yeah.
great.
Yeah.
I love it. I love it. I love you want to talk about chaos and order. Living in Texas is chaos and order. I'm telling you that right now.
Yeah.
And I love it because this shit is just yeah. So go on. I love it.
Well, I think that
Continue.
that kind of sums it up. I mean, if we do talk about Texas a little, we do have a governor race
Governor.
between Beto and Abbott. And what's so crazy though is like that we've gotten to the point at which
Neither of
the
them work.
the neither of them work, but the order pivots to the chaos of a Beto, right? The that the
Do you want to?
antiquated, outdated operating system of an Abbott limits our ability to microchip more people.
Oh
To add
no. No,
you know what
stop.
I mean?
No,
Because
stop that. Yeah, yeah,
you
yeah.
got
It
these
does. It
right
does. I
wing.
get what you're saying. Yep. I get, we can't let this old technology. But the only answer to the old technology is straight microchipping. We don't get this
Yes,
gradual. We don't get this gradual.
it's
No.
just you've got
What's
to.
what's also unfortunate. What's also unfortunate about that situation too is I am from California, and I'm one of those people that well, I have to say it. Do not California my Texas. Like I have friends in California. I swear, dude, and that's such a cheesy. I as a Californian, I hate that, but I've been here close to 8 years now, so I think I'm have a little bit of a stamp. But
Yeah,
when don't like I have friends in California right now, just like take me. Take any state that will take them. They're just like, please take me higher, like some state that will allow my job to transfer. Like California's
yeah,
bad now too, and it's not.
true.
But Texas also, it was just stated that Texas is the most dangerous state to live in, just given the fact that I can just walk
You
around
can
with my
get bit
gun
by a rattlesnake.
anywhere I want.
Like you're
I
walking
don't
down
think
the
it's
street and
that
you
might
get
be
bit.
true. That is true. That
There's a
is true.
snake in my boot.
They did account for, although I do feel that it's just like, oh, everybody hate on Texas. I think it's weird narrative that someone's trying to push that Texas is like god awful, and it's not. People keep coming. We love it. Keep coming to Texas.
Yeah,
Like, but it's hey, if you're weak, get the fuck. Like that's the one thing. That's a great example of like, hey, if you think you can go like move, not only move out of your hometown, right? God
right.
forbid you're one of those people that have always lived in your hometown and never left. Like, even if you're from a big city, I don't give a shit if you grew up in New York City and know all the culture there is because you're in the middle of all the fucking sub cities of like Italy, Mexico, and all
Right.
these places. Like, no, get out of your town, go somewhere, visit somewhere, get some culture, please. Because and then you're gonna learn real quick whether or not you can like survive as a human or not. And what's hilarious is your microchipping is all people that have probably never left Texas.
Yeah.
There are people that
No,
probably
that's
think that if
so
you leave
true.
Texas, the only way you can
That's
get
so
out is
true.
if you get microchipped.
Yeah,
Like
but
the
that's
only way you can leave Texas is if
you can take that messaging and remove Texas, put Zimbabwe, put the Nordic country in there, and you start to realize that what it is. It's globalism that people are afraid of. People are afraid of the border wall. They're afraid of being introduced to something new that might benefit their lives or even diminish their lives in some form or fashion, because they don't want change. You know, Obama ran on the platform of change, but we never really saw change come. You know, and in big ways, is like a political commentator, Hassan Piker, mentioned that, like, don't forget, Obama was not friendly to the LGBTQ community. Like, he was like almost anti-gay marriage. Like the whole doctrine of, you know, politics being that the Democrats are, you know, so forward thinking, and that there is a California in the Texas. But in some ways, don't Texas California, you know, like don't forget that, like, don't Texas New York.
I mean, you know, that's something that I've come to appreciate since I've lived in Texas, is that there is something to be said for allowing a community to make decisions for themselves, you know?
True.
And I think that a lot of people saw that in like COVID times, just because of how states were, you know, taking up their rights to do what they wanted, because hey, there's a separation there for a reason. You know, and I do think there is a very important factor of like privacy and independence within ourselves and individual, you know, and I think that's for just as an individual, you need your independence, right? I'm married. I live with my wife. And like for those of you that live with your significant other and have kids and like don't get any free time, hey, take a fucking day. You need it. You need a day where you can just be in your own mind. And some people need a lot of time, you know, some people need a lot of days. Unfortunately. You know, and
I need a lot of days.
On the grand scheme, like that's important for communities too. Communities, I think, need to be able to make decisions for themselves. That's not to say that I don't think women should have their rights, right? I think when a community decides that, hey, women don't get to have rights, well, hey, that's a balance that isn't had, and maybe we need to fix that. And I use that because of the abortion example. Obviously, that's one of those things recently that was put back in the state's power. And to your comment about Obama, that's a famous, like, you can look that clip up. He was in an interview and he said that he believes gay marriage should be left up to the states because he believes in the Bible, and the Bible is a marriage between a man and a woman, and yada yada yada. And for whatever reason, that wasn't the Democratic agenda at the time, to jump down people's throats. And so he was able to say that, and it still took on, you know, some sort of like a pause, and, you know, people thought that that was a good thing for him to say. And ultimately, what's he saying? Hey, I'm leaving it up to the states. I think the states should be able to decide. And I think the idea of allowing the states to decide anything is a great idea, because again, communities should be able to decide what they want to do, especially when they're communities that have thrived and have been successful when working together and can show examples of that. And I think, you know, DeSantis isn't fucking the greatest dude on the planet, but I think he did show some good signs of decision making during the COVID thing. Not all decisions he made were great, but
you know what? Knives is not going to agree with this.
I know. But he will agree with the independence piece. I think he will agree with the fact that you should be able to be allowed to make your own decisions. And again, I say that to my whole state talk, and I'm going to go back to the balance. As a community and as a state, anybody should be able to marry whoever the fuck they want. So back to Obama's point of the states should be able to make the decision. Yes, I agree with that. But everybody in the fucking states should open their goddamn eyes and realize that you can be allowed to marry whoever you want, and that gay marriage isn't something that should still be a decidable thing between people. Gay marriage should just be allowed to be had, because people should just be able to marry who they want, you know? And so that's where people don't pay attention to those things. People don't pay attention to like the macro of the conversations. They pay attention to, oh my God, Obama said that gay marriage should be left up to the states. No, he said that the states should have the right to make their own decisions. Gay marriage shouldn't even be on the docket for discussion. Marry who the fuck you want. Like, that's where we need to start going with our thinking, and I think our political leanings, rather than just making straight points or finite points that have one determination and only one determination, and there's no nuance, there's no room for interpretation. That's where we need to get away from. We need to start opening up to like other things, you know?
Yeah, I want to touch on the yay thing a little bit. I don't want to get there all the way, but you know, what I meant by Knives isn't going to agree with this is I was going to say that we've been using alt-right talking points in a and misconstruing them. When I say microchipping and I'm laughing, and I'm
Oh yeah,
misconstruing these
yeah.
talking points to make a more liberal statement.
Oh, you
And
could chop this
you
up
know
and
who
make us
does that a
alt-right.
lot? You know who does that a lot? Andrew Schultz. And Knives hates Andrew Schultz with a passion. And that's why I was gonna say we've been taking these alt-right kind of ideas and like making them liberalified to the maximum and going along. But what the thing is that these the far left does is
Well, we have a
they
really
don't
good friend.
acknowledge.
We have a good mutual friend, Alex
Yeah,
Strenger,
who?
who is
Oh,
Alex,
yeah.
who is deliberately
He's like he's yeah.
blurring the line as best as you can blur it. For anybody that Showtime Alex Stringer is, I believe, what his Instagram is now, and he
He's
is
a wild man for sure. And
hilarious. He is
yeah,
blurring those lines.
he took it to he's like what he's suing Kanye West or something like that for
Oh,
like
he's doing
$3 billion
everything.
or
He's
something like
doing
that.
everything. He's doing it all.
And
Man, you hate Tim Dillon,
uh,
Knives? Stop. That hurts
I
me.
can't believe he hates Tim Dillon, dude.
That
I can't
hurts me. My
believe
mom loves Tim Dillon. My mom's
uh,
I'm from Palm Springs, and Tim for a while lived out there. I think he still does. I don't know. But she just like randomly found his podcast or something. And was like, "Do you know who Tim Dillon is? He's so funny." Just like,
he is
yes, mom. I love it.
always on point. Always. And flames people. He flames
Oh
them
God,
up,
he's so good.
like sautés them
He's
and
so,
flames them
and
up.
no, he doesn't crack a fuck. He doesn't give a fuck. He doesn't
No.
crack any type of acknowledgement or smile. Like he straight faces everybody, deadpans anyone who fucking even thinks they can crack him, dude. He's the king. I can't believe you, Knives. That hurt my
Well,
feelings.
I think in some ways it's diminished because he does have that Chris Farley-esque kind of like aesthetic, and so like for a lot of people he doesn't play to the social
And
norms.
he also has the horrible drug problem as well. So,
Yeah, that's horrible.
I don't know if the Chris Farley comparison was the best.
I think the thing is that
Oh man.
the people who do that type of comedy, Andrew Schultz, Tim Dillon, even Rogan in a degree, is they make fun of the things that are most like complicated in life. Like they're like, the things that are like socially difficult to work with because it's just affecting so many people's lives in such a negative way, but like making a positive out of the negatives. That's why I think it's so funny. And then that's like you can go down a deeper rabbit hole and include like Sam Tripoli and Alex and and all of those stand-up comics that we know from like the underground comic scene, even Tony Hinchcliffe. Like
Okay,
we
that's someone who
appreciate them.
I'm very rarely on the Tony Hinchcliffe train.
You're
He's
not
one
on the
that
Tony Hinchcliffe train?
he's so I'll be honest with Knives on the, or I don't know if you said it, Schultz. Yeah, you said Knives doesn't like Schultz. I'm indifferent on Schultz. He's
You're
either
indifferent on Schultz.
he's either got some knee slappers or he's annoying. I'm indifferent. I can't, it's not like I can't stand him. Hinchcliffe, unless he's just balls deep in a roast and just on fire, I can't. Although I do want to
You know what
do
it is?
Kill Tony. I do kind of want to do Kill Tony, but
Yeah.
just so I can fucking give him a good one. I don't think anybody will like it or be funny, but I think if I go up there and just flame Tony for like 30 seconds, it would be kind of funny.
Yeah. I think Red Band is the homie though.
Shit.
Red Band
Oh,
puts
Red
that
Band's
show
cool.
together. He kills it, man. He's
Yeah.
put together the biggest shows in comedy and in podcasting. He's the pod father in that regard, as far as like
Yeah.
a producer and everything like that. So like,
Oh, he's working his
and
way up there. I think he's up there with the like, I would put him up there with like a Rogan or a Marin in terms of like his impact on it for sure. Because
yeah,
of the
and
success, his podcast that he's helped create,
he's deep into virtual reality as well. So we can get into that a little bit. But you know what? Knives' thing is like Andrew Schultz doesn't do it for him. Maybe it's because he's white. I don't know. It's like it's okay if it comes from a Hassan Minaj or a person with a little Indian curry. Like not to be prejudiced in any way. I love Indian curry. I would eat some right now. I ate some last night. But like I'm
I'm
just
not the biggest
like,
Curry fan.
no, you can't do it.
No, no. I mean, I love
Tikka
like
masala?
I love I mean, I'll do like okay, so there's a chicken tikka masala I'll do from
Chicken
I
tikka
think
masala,
from
yeah.
Masala Wok, and it's like a cashew or like a pistachio, I think, and it's
Yeah,
creamy.
yeah.
I just can't do the spice, man. Man, and
No
especially
spice.
with my fucking stomach. Yeah, like spice lately, like I've been having to
Yeah.
watch it. I love spicy shit too, but like a Indian spice is a completely different level of fucking yeah, that's a completely
Yeah,
different level of
true.
spice.
I haven't
Although
done it
I
in a
mean,
while,
yeah, they got some
you know?
fucking I mean tiki masala wok's fucking the shit. I love me with some masala wok. I'll go in there and fucking
Yeah.
eat a shit ton of fucking stuff. I just ain't fucking with the curry.
Yeah, I hear you.
Not all
So
of
so
it
the thing is
anyways.
like the thing is that, we're not on our hot girl shit no more. We are sad boy summer at this point because we're, getting up there in the age is we're getting toward that midlife crisis
I'm trying to
state,
find every reason I'm trying to find every reason of hope in 35 plus, man. I'm trying to find every little glimmer of hope. Like, oh, I guess I could be like a jacked 37-year-old. That'd be cool. There's not a lot of those. Like, what
Yeah,
am I
yeah, yeah,
gonna
yeah.
do? Like beyond
Well,
the
Jeff Bezos, man, like
yeah,
jacked
but
out the yin yang and
all right, bro. But I'm
billionaire
not a
yacht
billionaire. Yeah, yeah. I can
mafia criminal.
if I'm like average Joe jacked, that's still an
Yeah.
accomplishment.
Like Elon
You know.
Musk, on the back of the yacht looking like he looking like he's the lobster from SpongeBob,
Looking like he
like
did look
like
he looked
big
like the pastry boy incarnate, like the pastry boy. The Pillsbury Doughboy was like a fucking
Pillsbury Doughboy. Yeah, yeah.
grew into an adult doughboy and then a human doughboy. Just transitioned. Like if
So
Pinocchio, like if Pinocchio was the Pillsbury Doughboy. And he grew up to be an adult doughboy, you know what I mean? Like he's just
yeah,
yeah, maybe
yeah,
he
yeah.
has like some scruff. He's just got like a bigger belly. When you poke him, he doesn't like woohoo. He's like, oh, just knock it off. Don't touch me or whatever. And
I'm just
then
gonna say this: I saw him with my own eyeballs, walking through the
with
factory, and I didn't think he looked all that abnormal. His chest, whatever was going on with his chest that
he's a
day
tall
was
gentleman,
crazy.
right? He's tall, right?
He's like 6'2". Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
6'2".
He's a tall dude.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, and so like, yeah, I don't know. Maybe his fit was off that day. Those swim trunks weren't right. I don't know, but like,
I mean, he
dude,
clearly doesn't give a shit about tanning. Like he does. You know how some people will go, "I need a fucking tan, man. God damn, I'm way too pasty. Like I need a tan out here." You know, he didn't give a fuck.
damn,
He
dude.
didn't have
But
time to tan.
speaking of that, I do want to kind of talk about this because there was, I guess he was on a podcast talking about electrified vehicles or something like that, and they brought up the question about like, they brought up Twitter. It's like full on acquisition, pretty much cleaned house with the company and everything like that over there, firing the CEO, firing this like top executives of the company, and so like, what is it that what is job security nowadays? What is that? Especially when, you know, I don't want to call him a tyrant, but those are tyrannical, you know, actions and behaviors that someone like Elon Musk does. And he attributes those things to, his disassociation with humanity in it being a robot, or like, his autism or being on the spectrum, and that he doesn't, read people for their emotional or care about their emotional, perceptions or opinions on life. So like it's either his way or the highway. And and he's getting I mean, for those naysayers about Elon Musk, he's now been held accountable in a way because of like this he's an African American that has to actually comply with contract law. So, like ironic, right? Because it's like this white guy that's an African American billionaire in
Yes,
America.
that is true. Yeah, no, no.
So yeah, job security.
I mean, what is it nowadays? You're right. I mean, I think that there's not necessarily let's do this. Why don't we change the norm on that? Why don't we just call it security? Why don't we just call it being able to like afford being able to like keep
Financial
ourselves
security.
alive? Financial security, health security,
Yeah,
anything,
yeah, yeah,
long-term
yeah.
health, long-term wealth, like any,
I see what you're saying. Yeah, yeah,
you
yeah,
know, people. So I have an opportunity actually to maybe get involved in like the financial aspect of things, coming up here.
yeah,
And, I see a lot of benefits in that, being involved with a company that deals exclusively with like financial solutions, right? That's got to be a great place to start in getting your finances in order. And, you know, I am someone that, I've had to like clear up debt and take care of, make sure that my credit score climbs, because that's a success status, I guess, that we were striving for, right? And
yeah,
I've learned the importance of, yeah, having money down the road, man. My mom gets Social Security, and that's something
yeah,
that, thank God, she gets that, because
yeah.
retiring, she didn't necessarily plan for the future in the best way,
Does she
and
plan to
she's at
live to
least
2050? Because they're gonna cut off Social Security. There's no money in Social Security, up until 2050, so it's like, you
case in
know
point. That's what I'm, and who knows if it even lasts that long with the way things are going. I wouldn't be surprised if it didn't. Now, that's my case in point, is she just didn't plan for the future.
Yeah.
The importance of owning property nowadays is huge, huge. Try
Mm,
your
mm.
hardest within the next 5 years to own some sort of physical property, land, something that you have, like, that is so important. Being able to have money down the road, because one day your body is going to get old and brittle, and you're not going to be able to work, and you're not going to be able to do things. You're going to become less valuable as you age. I am far less valuable at 35 years old than I would have been maybe at 20, being able to work 20 hours straight, not sleep and shit like that, right? So, I mean, just security in general, I think, is important. Now, companies, capitalism, yay, capitalism, they are able to provide certain securities and benefits to people. You mentioned earlier scale of companies, whether it being a
Yeah,
large corporation or a smaller company, and we can circle back around to that. And a 10,000 plus company, right, ones that you and me have worked for in the past, they can afford things like great health care, great benefits, time off, paternal leave, vacation time. They can allow people to have a somewhat normal work-life balance, to where people are willing to work for them and dedicate years and years of their lives to those companies, as long as they, I think, can live some sort of life that they want to live, right, where it's a good community, a network of friends, family, so on and so forth. And then you have the smaller companies that are just a group of people really looking to succeed. And maybe they put together a plan where they can compensate those that work for them or themselves. And then they can plan to scale. And then eventually they get to take advantage of things like state funding or, loans. And then they get certain perks where, hey, tax write-offs if you employ X amount of people. And, you get your companies like Amazon and T-Mobile and Tesla, and these companies that now amass thousands and thousands and thousands of people, where they become functioning parts of the culture and society in which the community thrives. And they become these
that's
businesses
a
that provide jobs and security for people and long-term future plans. And they build cities and these things,
going
right?
in. That
Oh,
was
son,
hard
let's
right
go. Because
there.
that's
That
what it
was
is.
fire.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what it is, dude. That's what these things are. But what are they also? They're systems. And people like to, I think, take advantage of them. And so us as individuals need to learn to just have some sort of securities for ourselves, because I don't think those companies are always going to be around, or they're not always going to be around um, in the capacity that maybe we think they are. And I will say that they're not there for you, they're for the masses. They are a company, okay? A company is not going to fold to one individual. A company is not going to fold to a group of 10 individuals. They don't fold to hundreds of individuals that are looking to form unions and for the
Mhm.
sake of their own protection. Companies do not fold for those. Companies understand their place, big companies like this, and their place is to provide for the community, provide jobs, provide security, provide places for people to go and to prosper at, hopefully, right? It's not their job to provide uh, a paycheck so you can sit on your ass and start your rap career on SoundCloud. Like, no, you can just go ahead and
Quietly quitting.
yeah, go ahead and just start your rap career on SoundCloud. Like, you can go and do that on your own, you know? Um, and so
Well,
not
that
to
here's the
shame
thing
not
that
to
I think.
shame either aspect of living. It's just job security is important. Yes, hopefully you can get with a job that provides good security. And I'm not saying that everybody should go be a slave for Amazon, but also understand that if you're 21 years old and you want to make decent money and you want to have maybe a 401k, at least started. It's not that like you have to, once you start working at Amazon at 20, you have to be at Amazon for your whole life. No, work for 2 years at Amazon, know the importance of starting a 401k and what building that for 2 years looks like. And then guess what? You can roll it over to do some other shit and work at another job or do some shit. Like, work for a job that's going to pay you right. Just because you work for a job where you earn $15 an hour doesn't mean that that's the only job you need to have for the rest of your life. Work your ass off for a year and then understand your worth and learn to fucking get a job for $17 an hour. Like, hey man, I worked my ass off. I'll be damned if anything on my resume allows below a certain number. Like, you can suck my whole asshole, as Dustin Poirier likes to say. I don't know if I can say that on LinkedIn, if this is the most appropriate platform for that to be said, but holy shit, man. Like, what are we doing? Are we trying to get people because they're going to become like this number in this cog, or are we trying to get people because of their worth? And that's another talking point you and me had about AI future and shit like that, is like, when are people going to start becoming of value again? Because they're becoming real cheap and replaceable now. But bro, I'm not going to buy from a robot. I'll be able to tell if it's a robot or not. Like, I'm going to be able to tell. I'm going to be able to tell, like, I'm going to walk into a place and people are going to, like, the robots at Jack in the Box. I stopped, dude. I haven't walked inside a fast food place. I don't know how long. Like, the robot, you have to go up and, like, no, dude.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know.
Taco Bell, DeFi, all that. Yeah. So before we get off, and there's a lot of things to touch on here. So like this kind of sparked from this concept of Elon Musk and what he's doing, and like being the richest person in the world and leadership and all these things. And Cameron said he's an alien, which is like he wants to go to Mars, all that and everything. But like some of the things like social credit score over in China that he's like sort of touting through execution through Twitter, and like everyone has to pay to get their Twitter score and be verified on the platform, etc., like $5 a month or whatever my kids may be. But like that, and then like I mentioned in the private chat, eminent domain, like you can buy property, but then if they just decide they want to build a flyover or whatever, they'll just like force you to sell your land at discount, and like you have no choices to do that, and you don't know where you're going to be in 5 years.
Hey, listen, true, but there's also something to be said for just, okay, listen. There are,
and it doesn't even have to be your property. It could be your neighbor's property.
There are situations, yes, where people get taken advantage of and they get fucked over and they end up losing out. But hey, that's life. Like, unfortunately, us as humans, we don't hunt and kill each other. We fucking prey in like emotional ways, and it's fucking weird. Unfortunately, true. People do own property and get fucked out of it. Yes, and get fucked out of it, but for some shady deal. But I also know several people, and you're familiar with a couple of these stories, where they fucking no, I'm gonna sit, and then now you're gonna pay me, and now you're gonna pay me. Oh, and guess what? And now you're going to pay me again, and you're going to keep paying me because I've been waiting for so long, and you're going to pay me for all the shit that you want, all these
upper management, leadership.
No, I'm talking about all these air miles. Oh, I own the fucking, you're right. My 2-story house sits on this plot, but the way your city starts developing is now you've got the sky, and now I got the 300 feet above me that I also own, and you're going to pay me for that, motherfucker. You're going to pay me for the sky rights all of a sudden now. We're sitting in a city that's being completely built off sky rights. These Bart, or the what's the fucking Rainy Street is literally being, people that are sitting on these properties near Rainy Street are making fucking a killing because they're fucking being sold for fucking sky rights. They want to build skyscrapers. The city wants to be able to make money off these little 2-story homes that are sitting there. And so the people are hunkering down. They're going, cool, you're going to pay me for destroying my fucking home. You're going to pay me for moving me out of my home that I've probably lived in for fucking 20 years so you can build this stupid 30-story building. How big do you want your fucking building to be? 20 stories? Cool. Pay me for each one of them because you're making me move my house. And people do that. There's lawyers. Lawyers make money for a reason, and people will sit there and fucking fight for people's rights. It's a funny conversation to have as well.
And no, it's interesting because, we are on LinkedIn, And I think this is
You're right. I probably can't say a lot of these things. I'm
no,
sorry.
you can. It's open book.
I
The
don't
thing
have
is,
a job, but it's not for any of the shit that I've said. I'll let
but
that be
listen,
honest.
this is the thing. It's like those executives that are listening into this conversation, they need to know this because they don't have a perspective of boots on the ground. They
It's
don't
true.
have that. They live in these ivory towers, like that's literally what we're talking about. And they live in empty ivory towers at the penthouse at the top, right?
You brought
Because
up what's the Secret CEO or what's that show? Undercover
oh,
Boss.
undercover boss. Yeah, I
It's
brought that up. Yeah,
hilarious that they only make them do it for like a week or whatever it is at a time. Every top level
right.
CEO or executive should have to spend 30 days in an entry level role.
Yeah,
Frontline, especially if you're a retail CEO. Bezos, please, or not Bezos, because there's no like Amazon. Whoever, Mike Sievert from T-Mobile. Shout out
yeah.
T-Mobile. Please go be a fucking associate for a month, every single day, showing up at 9:30, talking to angry customers. Please, you're gonna change a lot of shit. I
And
promise you.
drop the ego
I
too. Like you're
promise you.
actually that person. Like you can't walk
Yes,
in and pretend that you're, and then take off the disguise. No, you're in it for real. Like you
John
lost your
Leger.
house, you lost your
Jean
wage.
Leger. Yeah, Jean
Yeah,
Leger or Ledger or
yeah,
whatever his fucking name
yeah,
is, the
yeah,
dude
yeah,
that was the CEO of T-Mobile for a bit. That dude is a genius, man. I bought his fucking book. He was fucking living it up, killing it. That is a smart
yeah,
man. He deserves every bit of the 49 million or whatever he fucking got for bringing that company out of the hole. He's probably got more in stock and all that other shit. He deserves every ounce of it. If there's one, and he would probably do it. He would be, because he likes breaking or lifting that veil, if you will, of what goes on in
yeah,
the corporate world and calling out CEOs for how they treat their employees. He boosted
yeah,
wages, he made T-Mobile employees a lot of fucking money, you know, and he's a smart man. He is probably one of the CEOs that could do this. And I mean, if there's any way that he would ever hear this, I would challenge him to maybe spend 30 days, but that's what they should do. CEOs need to get a full frontal view of what their entry level frontline workers do, and
yeah,
their perception would change. I guarantee it.
yeah.
Politicians,
But
same too. Same goes for politicians. And also, there needs to be, if we're gonna have like this idea that the
yeah,
normal person retires at 65 or the normal person is having these age limits, that goes for everybody, executives and politicians alike. I know some fucking members of boards for companies that are well into like their fucking 70s that are just earning fucking crazy money because their companies are killing it and they're on the board, so they get fucking residuals. And I mean, why only normal people die? Why are you forcing normal people to quit at 65? Like, maybe, I don't know. It's a weird conversation to have, but
right. So like, this all kind of boils back down to Elon in a way.
fucking
This
Elon. It's his fault.
because he there's this misconception. We talked about this when I left your house the other day, that he lived on the factory floor, broke, $0 in his bank account, couldn't afford a grilled cheese. In reality, like he chose to do that. Like he did, the money in his bank account did not disappear. The company Tesla was going to go bankrupt, not Elon. Elon wasn't going bankrupt by any means. You don't lose the experience of being the richest man in the world, just by a company going bankrupt. That's just not how it works. Fundamentally, you've already gained all of that experience, and tomorrow you could just make another $1 billion because everybody respects you for the billionaire that you are. Like, don't get it twisted, right? And that was the whole thing. And so, like, when I think about, there's another show that Grant Cardone did where like they only give you like $1,000 and you have to go out and you have to figure out like how to live in a new town and like figure out how to get a car, and you have to grind from the bottom. But don't forget that these are television shows. These are scripted television shows, and that they still know that when they get off the show, they've got a 7, 8, 9, 10 bedroom house with 30 baths to go back to wash their ass and scrub their teeth. Like it's not like homeless, like on the streets of Austin, living in well, you used to be able to live in a tent on the sidewalk. I don't know what the case is now, but
I
or
mean, go on, sorry.
no, go ahead. Like I think that I'm just setting the stakes.
I mean, it's true, man. And that's also, but going back to fucking what Texas has like taught me, and like what I appreciate is, hey man, Elon also worked his ass off, and I wouldn't expect him to fucking lose everything
Yeah.
because I want other people to, because I want him to understand. You know what I'm saying? Like,
The problem is that if it's true,
we shouldn't have to do that either. Also, if we think about that, we're smart as humans and people. Like, we shouldn't have to force someone to live in a shittier condition than what they're accustomed to show them a perspective that people are living in, when they should just understand it already to begin with and have some sort of like compassion towards it. Now, again, we're fucking chaos and order incarnate. and like, if you were to take a fucking order blob and a chaos blob and make it a thing, it would be the human species. And we
you
would
know
be
what Elon
beautiful,
needs?
we would be smart, we would be athletic, we would be all these great things that we are, but then we would also be these emotional fucking wrecks and these like weird, manipulative, cold-hearted, like,
Yeah.
why are we fascinated with ourselves? Why are we fascinated with us? Does that make sense? Is that a weird thought to have as humans?
Are we? Why
Like,
are we
us as
self-centered?
humans.
Or
Well,
you
no,
mean
okay, think about it. Us as like humans, right? We've
right versus other
evolved
species?
for years. Yeah, exactly. And we know like a lot about a lot, right?
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
Why is a primary function of us obsession with us? Does that make sense? Like, why is a primary function of humans now in this day and
Yeah.
age in 2022
Yeah.
the ability to know what's going on in other people's lives, or the ability to like want to know, am I making sense? I smoked
I
I
know
smoked like 2 hours ago. I didn't think I'd still be high. I'd still
it's
be
it's
stoned.
an existential crisis. Yeah, it is an existential crisis in that. But we also have a fascination with
Yeah.
aliens. So like when
Yeah, it is. You're
so
right.
like
You're right. It is.
we do look for we are looking for extraterrestrial life. We are looking for something that is as competent and as conscious and as complex as we are. And Elon's on the forefront of that, whether he is an alien from another planet or another dimension or whatever the case may be. And he's developing these robots that are going to iRobot us and kill us all. We don't know. And does he? The
I
question
watched that
is
movie
does he have
recently.
emotional empathy, man? If he does not have emotional empathy for other human beings, and he's not like most humans, then that's the problem. That ultimately becomes the reason why China is a communist state that uses social credit scores and is diminishing the quality of life of the of humanity. Um, and that's just the case. That's reality.
Whoa.
That's what it is.
Bro, you just broke my brain. Wow, I didn't even think about that. I didn't even think about that.
Dun,
Because
dun,
that's what it
dun.
is, right? We always talk about like this sentient AI thing making the decisions for us. We always imagine it making like this conscious, this is the best decision. You have it wrong. That is not the ultimate good. Ultimate good is,
Right,
and then
right.
like
Yeah.
making that
Hitchhiker's Guide
decision,
to the
right?
Galaxy. Ultimate question. Yeah, yeah.
But it's like, you definitely couldn't make an ultimate decision without emotion, because there's always the other side of the coin,
Yeah.
right? There's always the
Yeah.
sacrifice that's being
Gary V.
made. There's always the fucking other side of the coin emotionally,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Robots won't have emotion. We don't think.
No, just pure
Pure
computational
decision.
logic.
Yep. Pure computational numbered logic. Pure this is the result. Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
No ifs, ands, buts, maybes. Ooh, I feel. No. 1 + 1 = 2. It's this. It's all you got.
Yeah, and
All you get.
that's the fear
That's
of
how
that.
decisions are being made. And if you have humans that are already that way, but keep in mind, you do. There are, and I'm
Engineers.
what?
Engineers, the people who are constructing the algorithms that the AIs run on. The people who are competent enough
All of them?
to
All of them lack emotion? They're all on the fucking.
Oh, I thought you meant the control factor. Like there is an off switch to it if we do decide to, at a point which there isn't we have to be like, because Elon. So there's a little history to this. Elon's grandfather was the leader of the technocrats, and or like the Scientologist is like a Scientology offshoot, and so their philosophy was that technology would end all war amongst humans by the study of engineering. So
That's
if
interesting.
you so then like
Well, so let me flip this. Let me just back to circle around to my point real quick.
a little complex conversation there.
Let's say no, it is. Let's say we've got Elon Musk, Mr. Human Robot over here, right? And he really does lack empathy.
Yeah.
Okay, we do know people lack empathy. That is a trait.
Autism.
I didn't want to say it, but yes.
Tism.
Okay, if you got a touch of the tism, if you got a touch of the tism, more notably Asperger's, I believe. If you have Asperger's, then I believe
Lower spectrum.
you're more
Lower
susceptible to potentially lacking empathy, lacking emotional connection, the ability to socialize on what we would consider like a normal level, just for the sake of like social acuity and things like that. Now, are you implying that engineers are autistic and that's why they are developing the technological world, and they are doing so successfully because they lack the empathy? Because keep in mind, if everybody felt that cyberbullying and like Twitter shit was the worst, then they would obviously get rid of being able to gauge some sort of like popularity value, right? But no, that's what keeps people going, is this popularity value. And it's also popular. How do we gauge what works? Well, it's popular. It is good. Doesn't mean all things that are popular equal bad. You know, that's just a part of the chaos order equation that we have going on, right? So with the fact that, okay, ultimately the robots are going to be the ones making the decision for us because it's going to be all computational logic, 1 + 1 = 2. And it's just, this is the right decision because it makes the most sense mathematically. There's no emotion behind it. There's no overbearing thought of like why or how come or does this make sense and what the future may hold or what the past has brought. There's no other variables being accounted for other than the variables that impact the decision being made. Now, that sounds altruistic in a way that, yes, we wouldn't have any more wars. We would maybe solve problems. Things would be figured out at a faster pace. Utopia even, right? But what happens when like, and I agree maybe to a sense, there was just several companies that stepped forward and said that they were going to make sure that their AI processes are not used for weapons specifically, right? Because I think they don't want contractors, defense contractors, tech companies to get into the wrong hands. I wrote a piece for school that actually got used for the school's publication, and it was on an ethical or a code of ethics for AI development, because that's something that both scientists, or not both, but scientists, engineers, theorists alike, people that are involved in the tech community and the AI community and can joining it, that's an important topic. They need some sort of like ethical foundation for where AI and technology is going to go, especially if it is going to go towards being able to just make better decisions, right? That's what the algorithm is. The algorithm is decision making. We're not going out and looking for individual videos. I mean, we are, but we're not having to do so one by one. The algorithm is learning what we like and is now feeding us things that we're going to continue to like, unless we're changing behaviors and habits and things like that, right? And so if we are going to go that technical route and all logic and computational making sense and everything, we got to have some sort of ethical boundary. And I don't think robots necessarily understand ethics, because ethics does come from that emotional component we as humans have, right? What's right and wrong, what's good and bad, what's successful, not, shit like that.
So I answer your question. Do I think?
I don't think you think all engineers are autistic. I really hope.
Okay, I just wanted to confirm that on record that I don't think that. But here's the thing. I do believe this. I believe this, and it's a bigger picture thing. I believe everyone is on the spectrum. Everyone.
Of course, it's a spectrum.
So everyone is autistic. Now the question is then it comes down to, okay, if everyone is autistic and they're on the spectrum, and autistic, if you slur it a little bit like Kanye West, sounds like artistic. So it's a level of creativity. And so like when I think of like the Ye situation in the Lex Fridman podcast, which is the most recent iteration, I guess he was on Tucker Carlson, he was on Piers Morgan, then he came on Lex, and Lex was the one where the pushback was this marketing pushback where it's like know, like, and trust. So Kanye kind of knows Lex. He may kind of like him,
Mhm.
but if you don't have know and you don't have like, you cannot trust someone. There's
No,
no
no.
way, because you have to have this defense mechanism up that people are inherently wanting to do insidious things to each other. And that could get sodomy and all these different other sort of sexual context of things. Like, because just think about Genghis Khan or Chinggis Khan, whatever you want to call it, just slaughtering mass, people. Like, we don't have that anymore, but we have social engineering. And that's what Elon's doing at this point. And I don't know if he's cognitively thinking about it and thinking about how that impacts the people at the bottom, because he's not at the bottom. He's at the top, the tippity top. He is the tip of the spears at the top. And so, like, for a guy like me that's breaking my ankles and my back and everything, busting out trying to make the widgets for Elon, it's like, does he really have any empathy for the slime at the bottom? Or is he like, just like, as soon as the slime starts to get crushed, he's like, get the mops,
See, that's
clean the slime up,
that
get the grime
is
out.
rhetoric, because you're not slime, and that's something that I think
Rhetoric.
is that's a media folly, if anything, man. That's something that the media has done to us in a weird way, is it's made us, when I say us, I'm going to say commoners. The name of my podcast is Common Chaos Podcast. Check it out, commonchaos.net. Yes, us common folk. We don't have the ability to kind of create a narrative that we want to create because we lack the resources and the ability to do so. If we had a shit ton of money and we got to decide, what job we got, we would have different perceptions, right? And that's the same can be said for Elon. Even though he's come up in it, he doesn't live the world that we live in, unfortunately. And that's why I fall back to, like, you do have to have that social component and the understanding of community. And I think this does go back to him being a CEO. I think you do have to, or being who he is, not just a CEO, but just being who he is. We have this understanding, if you will, that a corporation understands it's a corporation. The people running it understand its importance to the community. Elon, he doesn't remove himself from that. He should understand the importance that he has and how that relates to his companies and their place in the communities and things like that. I think that I'm much more interested in Elon Musk for the sake of Twitter. And I know you having your association with Tesla makes him probably in your world in a couple of different ways, right?
Yeah.
And so,
well, I had a sort of I had a positive perspective on him prior to really getting deep and dirty with the guy. At the point when I'm really deep and dirty with the guy, I'm like,
working
oh, wait a
for
minute,
him.
there are
Yeah.
dark sides to this.
Yeah, working for him. Yes.
Yeah.
And that sucks. I did not work for him, so I don't have that perception. But that's not to say that he, again, can't have like that understanding. And what do we do as a
No, that's
culture and
not
as
to
a
say that, yeah.
society to get people to understand those things, right? But there also is the conversation of like responsibility. Just because he understands who the quote unquote slime is, right? Like,
Yeah.
he can sit there and go, no, of course I care about these people. That's why could you
Oh,
imagine if I didn't, the company would go under and these people wouldn't have jobs,
Right.
or they wouldn't have this. And he could probably pull his own little twist on it, which would make sense. And again, he only has the perceptions he knows and the examples he has, or the experiences he has. But
Goes back to mathematics.
There should always be
logic.
an importance to. It does, man. I mean, you said the other day that didn't someone die outside of the Tesla plant in Austin because they were crossing the street?
That was disgusting. Yeah,
it happens, dude. It happens. People pay people to walk on power lines hundreds of thousands of dollars a year.
Yeah,
and what? Guess what? They fall and they die.
Yeah. Well, that's why
could there be some weird
those nets?
Yeah. Because people jump. People actively want to end their lives working in China. We're lucky we don't have that yet. And that's if there's
a case in point of a large massacre, you know, or like a not a massacre, but what's the whenever people uh burn set themselves on fire or like
It's this
suicide or
it's
something like
this
that at
it's
Apple,
this
a mass suicide at Apple, or a mass suicide at Amazon, where everybody's like David Koresh, like taking the juice and like eyes on the factory floor because life is so bad.
man, this is a crazy room that I would want to be in. And you say Apple, and like I don't equate. I use Apple products, and
Yeah, me too. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I'm I try to be conscious of the materials I use and what I'm where I'm going with. And China Apple's not the best, but they're not necessarily the worst either, right? Actually getting out of China to some degree, going to India for a lot of their things.
Oh
Um
God.
that's not any, not any, yeah.
I
But
just wanna bring that up because someone from India just came into our chat. Arjeet, hey Arjeet, PUBG streamer over there in
Oh,
India.
okay. Nice,
So
nice, nice, nice. Shout out.
mobile
Shout out,
gamer.
man. Yeah, nice. Well, I mean, yeah, that's just it. Like it's you have to pick and choose, right? Because we are using these ethical decision making
We
mechanisms we
love
have.
chicken tikka masala.
Yeah. No, we love it. No, please, please. Uh,
Make
you
our
know,
iPhones.
I
I'm
got
just
in I
fucking
got
with you.
into
So bad.
I got a room into a room with Apple the other day. And
Yeah.
that's a room I don't mind being in. That's a room that I don't mind being in because I know it's Apple. I know that there's a lot of
Yeah.
opportunity there. I know that there's probably a lot of dollar signs with it as well. And I know that there's probably just a lot of like, man, once you're there, that's a whole nother door you're in. It's a whole nother door and a whole nother room that you get to be a part of.
Yeah.
And knowing all that, I also know that past employees of Apple that are just like, yo, it's the fucking worst. But those are also the retail employees, like the
Yeah,
employees.
yeah, yeah.
And so the rooms I want to be in, or that would be really interesting, I guess, to be a part of, would be the ones that are making those decisions. Like, hey, when it
Yeah.
does come down to a company's front line, how much are they getting paid and how good are they taken care of? Back to our discussion of the 10,001 or 10,000 plus employee businesses or the 100
Yeah.
employee
Yeah.
businesses. I've
Yeah.
been a
Yeah.
part of both, and you're never ever going to get any type of security that is worth it with small companies because they just don't have it. And that goes back to what they're willing to like give their community. There are companies that are going to take care of their people, and we got to keep in mind that there's people in those positions to make those decisions of how the people are getting taken care of. And you just got to make sure that the right people are in those rooms. You got to make sure that the
Mm.
right people are in the rooms that have the employees' best interests in mind. I think you and me might have had this discussion a couple of days ago about HR and me
Yep.
being
I
in
was about to go there.
the communications realm and just in the realm I'm in as of right now. I happen to be very, very close with like HR and hiring and consulting and these types of rooms that are fun to be in from time to time. And HR is not your friend, people. HR is there for the company's protection. HR is the department in the company that allows the taking care part, the security parts, what you're supposed to know about the business and how the business is supposed to take care of you as an employee. That's HR's
Yeah.
role. And
Yeah.
whenever there's an issue there, HR is there to manage that situation, not to necessarily protect you. And in some situations, not necessarily there to protect the company in the sense that, oh, we're going to make sure that the company's interest is taken more so than the person's or individual's interest, but they're there to make sure that the company doesn't get sued. They're there to make sure that the company doesn't take any more loss due to personnel issues, legal issues, as it relates to the employees and their relationship to the company. And a lot of
Yeah.
people think that HR is there to protect them in situations. And again, they can be, but it's all logical, breakdowns. It should be things that make sense, right? If you're getting fired, it should be a fireable offense.
Yeah.
Again, it's just people making these decisions. But again, there are people that get to determine how much the front line makes when it comes to dealing with people and clients and
You know what?
problems. And just as much as there's people that get to pay the power line worker 100,000, hey, people want to go up and wash those windows on those fucking buildings and those carts because they get paid a lot of money to do it and they don't care and they get a thrill out of it and it's fun and it's a job for them. And, I'm sure there's some of them that sit back and go, we don't get paid enough.
Yeah.
You know, but
I
there's
think a
probably
warning though.
yeah, go for it.
A little warning is like that, there's I don't know if this is Indian or not, but like I think it's Indian from my American perspective, is like the practice of Kundalini, right? Mind, body, soul, heart, all of that in line with the ultimate objective of whatever the hell, I can't, utopia, let's call it utopia. And when you hear the word HR, you think that they'd have the what did you say? You said best interest in mind. It would be more beneficial if it was, the best interest at heart, because then there's emotional
Mm.
value to what what the
You
HR heart
you wanna you
is.
wanna you wanna talk about Kundalini though, and the mind, body, soul connection. The heart and the brain are one, sir. The heart, the brain, and the body are one. And in fact, you have a second brain, your gut, which
Well, not
tends
if you're a
to lead
robot.
into your gut feel. We're not. We're humans, sir. I have to ask you this, and this
Yeah.
is for anybody. Man, this is just me doing a
And this is
shameless
the
plug.
wrap up. Here we are on the
This is
wrap
just
up here.
me doing a shameless plug, like always, because I'm a horrible person. But if anybody is interested in actually listening to my podcast, and I highly encourage you to, Trent has been on it several different times, and I'm actually getting to an episode with Trent that I'm going to reference here in just a second. Bear with me. I'm going through my timeline. Okay. Episode number 18. If you guys want to head over to commonchaos.net or Spotify, wherever you can find the podcast. Episode 18 features my good buddy Trent over here and my brother-in-law, David Manley, and my good buddy Roger from the Bronx Corrales. So Flava Dave and Roger are two buddies of mine, brother-in-law, obviously. And they were brewing beer together for a while. David is actually a brewer still. Roger is also involved in the industry as well. David is the head brewer at Starbase Brewing here in Austin, Texas. You guys can check them out. They are actually associated with SpaceX, trying to be the first beer on Mars, which is really cool. Anyways, we had a discussion on my podcast back in 2018, and that revolved around just breweries, what they do, how they're getting their business started, what struggles and hurdles they were coming up with, or, having as they were starting their business, and what successes they were having. And one of the points that we were talking to is the industry as a whole for brewing. And we brought up unions and the importance of unions and representation for, be it employees and or companies, more so, excuse me, in line with the employees, because they're there for full employee representation rather than what like an HR would be. If I remember correctly, you weren't that fond of unions for whatever reason, whereas me and like David and Roger were, because we had experiences with them. Has that changed at all? Just given, the couple years that have passed and like the different situations you've been in career wise?
I still think they're
Sorry.
gangbusters. I still think that bad actors gain access to the top of unions. I think that that was largely why the mafia started to run Las Vegas and in New York. Like you just end up having a different, closer tyrant than you do at the top, right? So
Is
you
it
just
safe
get
to
a
say
new
that
tyrant.
it can be happen with anything though? Because I mean, the mob also infiltrated the police union, or
The
yeah,
FBI, yeah. I mean, the FBI runs the mob right now,
police,
so yeah.
and I mean, that can be said that the FBI maybe infiltrated the mob, but the
Yeah.
mob most definitely infiltrated the police to a degree. Same in Florida, and so I think they're safe to
Yeah.
say that bad actors are in any organization.
Yeah, but no, what I'm saying is it potentially adds a second layer of bad actors, and so then you have two problems instead of one,
Well,
so like that's what
oh,
happens.
okay. You mean like a separated problem, like a second separated problem?
Because then you have a politics of the corporation and the politics of the union. So then you're
Mm.
like, then you're not paying your dues, you get thrown out on the street, and then this company fucks you too, so you get double fucked. Like, that doesn't sound like a great idea.
It's interesting. It's interesting because I feel like, I mean, that is a good the way you put it is, you don't just get one bad card. Now you got two bad cards. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Because
You're on Uno, and
especially
you have to pick up
if
7,
you're trusting, Yeah, especially if you're trusting the union to take care of you and help you in a
Exactly.
situation when you don't know. Yeah, that makes sense. Man, I wonder if, I wonder. Man, all right,
In
that's
the
a
film
discussion for
business,
another
it's
time.
different. In the film
I mean,
industry,
in the
it's different.
grocery business, it's different. I experienced it firsthand, even though I
Okay,
only
yeah.
experienced it for maybe a year and a half. But there were
Right.
times where, just basic shit. Like I wasn't. One thing that got me, and this was the unions. California already has it in a certain way, and the unions even did it one step up. But in California, let's say you get off for like certain industries. Let's say you get off at like 11 at night, right?
Mhm, mhm.
If you work a job where it's like day and or night shift possibility, you
Yeah.
can't get scheduled until the following day after 11 a.m. You
Mm.
have to have
Yeah,
a 12-hour break before you go back to work. Does that make sense?
right.
Whereas like
Yeah.
the unions did one extra and they were like, hey, we're going to go a little bit further. And this is this is the protection you get with the union, or this is what like the union allows, right?
Mhm,
And above that, legally, the company can't do this because the state is there, right? But the union
mhm.
upped it to like so if you worked at like the grocery stores and you did a closing shift, you couldn't do another. You had to have a full 24 hours before they made you work another like continuous shift. They just gave you like extra, you know what I'm saying? It's like extra bumps, extra layers of like, I don't want to call them protections, but they were like extra layers of we're looking out for the employees more so than what maybe the state thinks is the bare minimum, you know,
Right.
or maybe whatever entity is, overseeing shit, but then you get states like Texas where it's like at will and like they can just like, unless you have a union to sit there and protect you, they can just be like, well, fuck off. Doesn't have to be for any reason.
I don't know if I even know enough to even
Go there,
comment
right?
on this last comment,
I
right?
know with the Indian market.
You know? Yeah, I don't know enough to really comment on that right now because I was just thinking about like how at the very top of the totem pole, the people who are commentating in venture capital and everything, it's always about the economics. I never feel like they have this emotional tie to the actual laborer, and so like
Mm,
that's where that union is supposed to be the fist punching upward, is this the union has an emotional tie to the laborers, and that they're you know in where we go one we go all kind of mentality of
okay.
punching against that system,
Okay.
you know
Okay. You don't have to just
you
fucking.
know
All right. I'll just go.
but
I'll
then
just see
on the
myself
other
out.
side on the other side of it's like what Michelle Obama said. What'd she say? uh she said essentially the same thing, but it was sort of different. It was like uh oh fuck, what did she say? Now I can't remember. We don't quit, essentially, like that kind of crap. And it's like it doesn't matter what side of the coin you're talking about. Somehow someone's either punching down or punching up. Punching down to me is more egregious than punching up. I think that the little man should have or little woman or man, I don't care, should have the opportunity to be successful as equally as to the affluence and the inherited wealth that comes from being a part of a technological achievement or something like that. But anyway, neither here nor there. As this broadcast comes to an end, Bryan, once again, plug the socials, and then we'll end the stream.
So yes, the Common Chaos for my podcast. Trent, I appreciate you for having me back on, man. It was good. It's been a
Yeah.
minute since I've been behind something other than I mean, I haven't really done anything. You can check out my podcast. I do it sporadically. There's no set schedule on it, although I believe that is going to change here coming up. Episode
Are
one
you gonna announce on my show? No.
episode 100. No, because it's nothing set in stone yet. Although I mean, I am going to be doing like a show on my Facebook tomorrow if people want to join. We'll have Trent share the link. I think Trent's probably going to be involved
Yeah,
in that to
definitely.
some degree. But And then I'm also doing a show called Nerding Out with Rickshaw with my buddy Rickshaw Martin, who
Yeah.
is also in the music industry, and it's just a fun show. So, but I don't have any of that to like share with you guys or put up. But I had a really good time coming on. Really good time talking about this kind of stuff, man. And it just gets me thrilled, like enthused. I literally just was thinking, man, I'm hyped, glad that we did this because I'm gonna get off. I'm gonna go probably eat a little bit, hit the gym for sure. This got me pumped to like go work out, bro. I'm excited to go and like hit another goal or two for the day. I got up excited, got my studio kind of cleaned up from how you had seen it over the last couple of days. It was a wreck. So I cleaned, got me motivated today. I love having these talks, man. I love having these talks. It gets me fired up. You've been a crucial piece of my network and my support over the last week or so. So I appreciate you, man. And for anybody that needs anything business wise or just like a brain to pick, Trent is your go-to for sure.
Hell yeah. Bryan Kern, Comic Chaos Podcast, comicchaos.net. And for me, www.trentknox.com. And we'll catch you on the next broadcast.